All right, welcome to Metal Messiah Radio, the Powerslaves show. We're here in Lauren Toby. We'd like to welcome our guests Greg and Rod from Redd Barron. Hello, guys. How are you today?
Real good, Toby. How's everybody doing over there on your end, man?
Doing super duper. So tell us a little bit about Redd Barron. When did you guys start?
Who wants to go first?
Why not, Greg? Okay, this is Greg. I mean, it's interesting story. I mean, it starts off like a million other stories. Suburb of Chicago, local guys all from the same town, doing our thing. Came together in the mid to late 80s, and I was one of the later ones to join, but I was in other bands and doing some other things. But we went to the same high school pretty much and knew each other. And, we shared a love for a very, I say, specific kind of, I term it new wave of British heavy metal, but some people call it power metal or whatever. But it was that sweet spot, before it got too glammed out, and when it was just kind of pure and heavy, but with lots of melody, and songwriting was important, and we bonded over it, and we kind of did the Chicago area thing, and there's a number of theories on why it didn't strike the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, but I think we were probably just a little bit too late if you look at the timeline. We were really hitting our stride around 89, 90, 91.
Okay.
And, that was just prior to the whole Nirvana thing and all that stuff. And,
yeah, that was the tail end of that era, I guess.
Yeah, but we're all high school buddies and grew up in the same town, and so that's kind of how we got started anyway. Chapter 1 of our story.
So you all knew each other in high school pretty much, and it was kind of like a lot of bands. Let's get together and form a band.
Yep. Well, a lot of that had to do with the fact that we all were all about the same music. So, when we go see concerts and shows and stuff, we were generally the people who were sleeping out at the Ticketmaster and tickets for deal and things of that nature.
I remember that.
We all had that same love for the same music, so that was a big part of the recipe for us. And we were very fortunate that Chicago metropolitan area had several clubs that really catered to the type of music that we were bringing to the table, and we were unique in the fact that we weren't really a cover band. We came to all these clubs and we played our own music. So to be able to stand your ground, with your own music when you're competing against a lot of the bands that were playing Metallica and Judas Priest and Scorpions on their format or set lists, which we did occasionally bring, some covers into our shows, but predominantly it was really all original music that we did. And to be able to pack the clubs with our own music was really gratifying. And we were fortunate to have a lot of places to play that supported our type of music. And Chicago really wasn't known for a destination for bands to break into the industry. We've had like Disturbed and Styx and a few bands that have made it big, but generally they go to LA to get their breaks.
Right. It was LA or New York or Florida, but not necessarily Chicago. Right. So, okay, so you guys are doing your thing. You're in Chicago. It's what, mid to late, early 90s, right? And then you're like, okay, now what? Because you put out, you have a demo, and you put out, the Redd Barron demo, and then you did, the Barron's Here to Rock, and then what goes on? What happens?
Well, just like most bands who are trying to find their way, it's when they make the term up that it's a long way to the top, it really truly is. And as Greg stated, we kind of did get a later start writing our own music. music and stuff. We were a little bit behind the curveball when it came to when the bands were breaking doing the music that we were doing. But we were fortunate enough that Greg and Pete come up with some really good guitar rhythms and stuff that Brian could really build lyrics on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like the word master. He's a wordsmith. So he can twist them all together. And there's a certain talent there. And for us to be able to have a second ball on the bowling alley here to try to get a strike, it speaks a lot to the fact that these songs have resonated for a long time, and they're just as meaningful today as they were when we wrote them a long time ago. And we're pretty fortunate to have a platform now to play our music. And we're happy for people like you to put your time in to help support people like us. So thank you very much.
Aw, you guys are sweet. So if you're talking about the new wave of British heavy metal and your influences as far as, you know, what you grew up liking, talk a little bit about what influenced you to become musicians in the first place. I mean, granted, we were all fans and we loved that, but as far as Greg, your guitar influences, and then when he's finished, Rod, who were your influences as drummers, you know, that made you want to be a drummer? I mean, did you guys play instruments in band when you were growing up in school, or was this something that just came out of your love for music as a teenager?
Well, this is Greg. Yeah, so for me, I did have a short stint in the 5th grade band. They had a thing where, you know, all the instruments were laid out on the table and you could pick whatever you wanted. And me and my buddy Jose, we both checked him out, and somehow he wound up with a snare drum and I ended up with oboe. Don't know why, but I did. So we hung with that for a little while, and I even remember the band teacher's name was Mr. Horvath. And he, anyway, one day, Jose had an older brother, and he brought home a Kiss album.
Oh.
And it was like, all right, the world stopped turning. Like, that was just like, so the following Monday, Jose and I went into band, and we went up to Mr. Horvath, and we said, hey, you know, I'm really sorry, but we're going to have to quit. And he was like, well, why? And we said, well, because we know. And he's like, you know what? And I said, well, I know that there ain't no oboe in Kiss.
You're not gonna be putting out God of Thunder on the oboe, right?
And here's the best part, and I will say that although I have a lot of musical influences and other things motivating me to want to be in a band, this was probably as big as any, because what he said in response was, I want to punch kids like you in the face.
Oh!
I remember that, and I thought, oh man, rock and roll is so cool.
That's absolutely true.
5th grade Greg was hooked, man. That was it, you know. So, like a lot of us, Kiss was like my gateway band or whatever, and you know, I got some little beat-up acoustic guitar, and I just started by ear teaching myself how to play Strutter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started, you know. And I learned by ear, and eventually there were some other dudes the next block over, and they knew how to play, you know, a minor chord or something. So we'd go over there and watch what they did. Then in our little suburban town, it seemed like every block had a band in a garage jamming all summer, you know. So, yeah, I mean, by junior high, we had our little thing going, and you know, that's how it started for me. So, as far as influences, you know, beyond Ace, of course, you know, many a rock guitarist would put Ace Frehley in the list. I tend to, my style, and if you really listen closely to the Redd Barron stuff, you'll hear Pete and I, you know, I feel like, you know, we're a great team. We've been playing together forever, and we're best buds, and our styles are similar, but I think he's more chops and technical. Like, you know, he's better than me, basically. But being honest.
Whatever.
But more, I would say, kind of bluesy, kind of, melodic is my gig. And so, I radiated towards those type of guitar players. My biggie is Michael Schenker.
Okay.
He's just sort of like, everything he plays sounds like magic to me. And, Glenn and KK and, Adrian and Dave and, all your kind of typical guys. And I have a very special fondness for Dave Gilmour, too.
Okay.
So that's kind of my deal there, as far as influences.
Sweet.
How about you?
What about you, Rod? What about drummers?
I want to comment on what Greg had brought to the table there, with his little bit that he just spoke. And, Greg was really ahead of all of us as far as the music thing back in the day. I mean, he was in bands and in and out of bands before I even started playing drums.
Oh, wow.
Go to the shows because I was a music lover, and the band that he was in actually inspired me to start playing drums. And then as Greg moved on and went to California and played in bands in California, the nucleus of Redd Barron had started. And then as soon as Greg got back with his touring in California, that was when we, got him in the band. So he was really an inspiration for the whole band to get going, even though we formed the band while he was in California, if that makes sense.
He was kind of the kick in the pants you all needed to kind of motivate you, right?
I started playing drums late, so I always felt like I was playing catch up. So, I was lucky enough that our band liked the Scorpions and Judas Priest, which at that time had pretty relatively basic drum parts that I could catch onto in short order.
Right.
But I was always stretching, because they would want to do this and that. So that really helped amplify my efforts to, become a better drummer, just because I always felt like I was behind, because these guys were always pushing the limit. But I found out quick that even though I didn't have a lot of experience, if I could play Scorpions and Judas Priest, I could carry a good enough beat for the band. I think that in the long run, I probably, Lars Ulrich has a big influence on how I play.
Okay.
We were big Metallica fans back in the day. And I think I take a lot from Lars, actually. If I had pick any one drummer that really influenced me. I mean, Neil Peart was way over my head.
I think the Professor's over everybody's head.
I was really taking a lot. I was stealing a lot from Lars if I could, If
Right.
that makes sense.
Well, but if you can emulate somebody who drums that fast and then put your own style on it, like you said, you started late, so therefore you're putting kind of your own style into something, and you didn't grow up listening. You grew up listening to a lot of different drummers, but you're learning late. That gives you kind of a step up on these people who've been playing their whole life, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
So in your new album,